right, good evening, everybody. Let's Stay Together Talk Show is here. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo, Brenda McCain. We are here on SOAR Radio, two-time Stellar Award Internet Station of the Year with the Rockford Goat himself, Kenny Crawford. Thank you all for being out here with us on this Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Hey, you still got enough time to go tell your friends the Let's Stay Together Talk Show is on. So we're on Facebook, YouTube, and on SOAR Radio. Make sure you look at that. We've got some great things we're going to be talking about, and I just want to give my baby a chance to speak up a little bit before we get into some things. Baby, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I just want to give my condolences to one of my good friends, Patrick Buckley, in the loss of his father. Condolences, a prayer going up for you guys because I know this is going to be a daunting week for you guys, and just want to keep you lifted up in prayer and to lift our theater baby up for celebrating a birthday yesterday. One of our theater daughters by the name of Brittany had a birthday yesterday, so I'm just still happy for her. And she had a great day yesterday, and moving forward that she'll continue to have happy days.
All right. And so I want to give also my condolences to the Republican Party
Oh, wow.
that you have to choose Trump and J.D. Vance. And that doesn't seem like it's working that well lately. You're not going to hear this from the Republican Party, but after seeing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who is the Minnesota governor, after seeing the rally they had at Philadelphia, I mean, that place was jam-packed. I can't remember what stadium they were at, but it was jam-packed with people there for this. And the energy is just off the charts about how well they did. I mean, we heard one person say it was a flawless rendition between those two. I mean, they just seem to be what America is about. Where you got the other two are just, divisive, always trying to put people down, try to scare you and stuff like that. You're not going to hear this from the Republicans. You're not going to. They're going to come up with their little talking points and stuff like that. But the energy has changed. There's that song is called "A Shift in the Atmosphere." There's been a shift in the atmosphere in a short period of time. And let's not forget that we have to thank. I'm going to thank him, Joe Biden, for understanding that there was a shift needed, and did not look to be some kind of a leader who thought that he should be the person, recognizing that there was a need for new blood, new leadership into this, the Democratic Party, and that he allowed, that to go forth. I'm not saying, he had a right to say no. He wanted the votes. He could have said yes, but he didn't. And so, that's a good thing. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. And I've got to say this before we go on for anyone that's listening. You got to pay attention to what's going on. We're going to bring up a MSNBC Rachel Matters talking point later on in the show, talking about what Trump is telling his own people. You're going to be surprised about what he's telling his own people and how Project 2025 has such of a massive impact of what they're thinking about doing. And this is going to affect younger people more than anyone else. I mean, I'm in my 60s. I'm in AARP land, you haven't, some of y'all ain't even got out of, just getting out of high school and can vote. This is going to affect you even more. And so listen up to that when we talk about it. We're going to have some great conversations on here. I'm playing some old school music also on the show next week. And I'm telling you all right now, because I'm telling him right now, next week our music is going to be Kenny's choice. I'm going to let Kenny pick all the music for the show. It's going to be Kenny's choice. He's going to be playing the music that he wants to play on the show. The GOAT is going to get an opportunity to let you know the music that he likes and enjoys. So next week you're going to hear Kenny's choice, the music we'll have on the show. Baby, you got anything else you want to say before we get into our topic for tonight?
I'm just so happy for Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
I am. I'm just happy.
Kamala. You can say it in different ways.
Oh, God, stop it.
Kamalu, Kamalo.
We could keep saying her name, but we don't want to say his name.
What he's gonna be saying, President. You can say her name is President.
Or Madam
You know,
President.
Madam
Let's just
President.
Get it that way.
You know, I mean, I'm telling you, the way it's going, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I mean, the energy is just amazing. It's palpitating. It's like, wow, look at this now.
It's a race. It's on. We got
and we you know, hey, when we fight, we win.
Yeah,
That's what
the
she
truth.
say. When we fight, we win. And there you go. And we better be ready to fight. African Americans,
You better get out there and
sororities,
vote.
fraternities, Latinos. I mean, we need all the minorities. Hey, come together, my man. Come together. Hey, my name is Ricardo. I can say that. I can speak that way. My name is Ricardo. Ricardo McCain. I was named after Ricardo Montalban. I can talk that way. But we have to come together. We have to stand
do.
together.
As they say,
all minorities.
stroll to
Okay.
the pole. I can't wait.
Yeah, stroll to the pole. I like that. Hey, we got to get going on the show. We're going to talk about that. I want you all to be with us because this information you're going to hear from Rachel Matters later on in the show is you need to really hear. If you're not listening, and that's why we're going to be talking about all this stuff until election comes, what the Republican Party is trying to do to make sure that you never have to worry about voting again. They're taking away your freedoms, your liberties, your access. I mean, everything. And if you haven't even tried, the one thing that you should read this year, if you don't read anything else, you should read the Bible. But the next thing you should be reading is Project 2025. Because your
What
freedom
can it be found at, baby?
and liberty, it's found on the internet. You know, you just put Project 2025 and it'll pop up. It's about, I think it's 920 pages.
Read a page.
Don't say a page a day.
No, because we don't get
Because
that much
you ain't got that
time.
much time. But I mean, you know, you may want to skim through some things, look and see what you like. But and there are some people out there that have, you know, dissected it for you. That's trustworthy that you can look at. You know, so check that out. Just don't be on Fox because they ain't trustworthy at all. But check that out. But it's important. It's important. Please, people. If anything you don't hear from me, it's important that you know what the Republican Party is trying to do in this election under Trump. And he's already got a roadmap that Rachel Matters is going to be talking about, put in place to try to get this done. And it's important that you understand that local elections like governor and mayor and aldermen and stuff like that, congressmen, play an important part to this. Plays an important part. And some of y'all are, I don't know who they are. I don't care. I'm not going to vote for them. Yeah, you should care. Because the local government that you live in, the state that you live in, is going to be the one that's going to have to certify the election. And if you don't have the right people in there, because you didn't say, I don't care about that person. If you don't take the time, as the Bible says, study to show thyself approved, you need to know what's happening. And one of the things they always used to say, if you want to hide something from black people, put it in the book. You know what? That don't work no more.
Nope.
We read.
We do.
We can read now. Master, we can read now. We can read. And you know what? We reading. And I'm going to thank my sisters a lot for that. Brothers, we need to pick it up. You know, Brenda could read a book in a day. It's going to take me a year. But I'll get through it.
Maybe we should read that on the plane.
I think I can. I'm the think I can reader. Brenda is I'm done reader.
Yeah.
You know,
don't got time.
You know, so she can get the 900 pages done probably about in a week. I'd probably be on page 9. But let's get on to this show. What we talking about today in Christian Real?
Born to be an example.
Yeah, we got a song coming up called Chosen to Do the Work of the Master. Chosen to be a witness.
Okay.
Spread the joy about Jesus chosen. We talking about being born to be an example. Now, you know, the greatest person that was brought down to the earth through flesh was our Lord Jesus Christ, who was brought to this world as a he was born to this world to be an example of our relationship. He was there to help us with our relationship with God. That while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He was born to be that example that allowed us to have a relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. Because sin, the Bible tells us, separates us from God. But when Jesus died on the cross for our sins, all we had to do was accept him as our Lord and Savior, and his blood cleansed us from all unrighteousness. So he was the greatest example of someone born to be an example. But yet, every time you have someone who accepts Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, we are also born to be an example of Christianity, that we can show the world about the examples of being a child of God. And God looks for us, requires us to live a godly life, that people might be able to see something, a witness in you, and say, hey, if Brenda can do that, if Rick can do that, if the GOAT, Kenny Crawford, can do that, then so can I. We are born to be examples. And I would say this sometimes to people, baby, and they didn't quite understand what I was saying. I said, the greatest leader first has to be a great follower. Yeah. Or I would say a great leader has to first become a great follower. Mm-hmm. And in Christianity, if you don't understand that every leader is still a follower of Christ. A leader is not someone who decides to tell you to follow them. They are giving you an example of how to follow Christ. Mm-hmm. And so even in a pastor or priest or whatever, we are still great followers as great leaders, because we're still following the word of the Lord. Any leader that wants you to follow them is going to lead you astray. But if they are leading as followers of Christ and leading you toward his word and his will, then you have a great leader, because he constantly shows the example of being a great follower. And so that's what you want when you look for a pastor, when you look for someone. Even if you're looking for a husband or a wife, that person should be a great example of a follower of God. Okay? And then if that husband is going to lead, or some of y'all, the wife might be leading, then you need to be able to say, is that person a great follower of the person that they're leading for? And so we've got to understand that as Christians. But hey, we all can be born to be examples, because what happens when we accept Jesus Christ, we are born again. Though we were red as crimson, he will cleanse us as white as snow. We are born again into the role of leadership through our ability, hear this now, to be followers. And so the one thing we have to understand to be born to be an example is that we have to know that in every situation we're following God. I want y'all to hear that. To be a great leader, you have to be a great follower first. In the example of being a great leader, and I'm going to let my baby speak in a second, you have to always continuously know, as a leader of men, I am still a follower of Christ. And the only place I'm trying to lead them to is God. And so I'm going to say this too. For those of you all, I don't want to follow my husband. If he's leading to Christ, then what's your problem? Husbands, if you got a godly woman and she's doing godly things, and I don't want to go to church, well, what's the problem? You got a godly wife. I know you probably just picked it because she looked good. Let's just be honest. It's Christian real. She looked good. I mean, when I saw Brenda, I didn't say, oh, what a godly woman this is. Oh, my God. Thank you, Jesus, for this godly. She was fine. And I preached this before, and I talked about this in marriage ministry. She was fine. But what I had to learn was, did fine have any faith? Because if fine didn't have any faith, we're going to have fatalities. And so if you got somebody who is a great follower of Christ and they're trying to lead you in that direction, then you're okay. But the question is, why did you not follow? I'm gonna let my baby talk before I go on. What you got to say about that, girl?
If we sticking with marriage, I want to stick with marriage with that.
We ain't talking about marriage, but go ahead.
No, but your example you just
Okay.
said. Majority we know with the church is like 80% female and 20% men. But is that something that's hard on that? Because she's born to be a great example. He's born to be a great example. He just haven't tapped into what he need to be doing. But if she's leading in the household, showing the way, not taking over his masculine duties or anything, but leading the way. And you're sitting back and you're looking like, well, my wife get up and go to church on Sundays, and I just don't. I'm not one to go to church. But it's like you gotta lead by example, especially if you're the head of the household and you have children. Like I said, you are born with that gift in you. If you know any little thing about Jesus Christ, about God, it's like an open door. He's just waiting for you to come on in. Whereas you seeing your wife every Sunday going to church, the kids respecting and looking up to her. Believe me, as a little child, they see things that we don't think that they see. And when they see mom heading the household, taking over specific duties, doing certain things, it's like you need to do something. And I hate to say it from somebody I knew before, when they seen that the kids didn't respect them, they left. So you led by example in a negative way. You just walked on out. But born to be an example for God, it isn't easy. But if you, like I said, you got that itch to go to church, to want to learn to be a follower first and understand what's what, because you never know who's looking up to you, your children, or who's looking to you, your wife, and friends and families. One thing I do love with our relationship, even though we don't, well, I don't know, I don't do it just for show, and I know Rick doesn't, but when we're out, when people see just the normal stuff that we normally do, that makes you just say we're doing something right. We're just so used to being us, and some people just happen to see us doing us. So I really do think born to be an example would be something grandeur for people if they really knew how much the blessing God would have on your life. When
Yeah.
He see that you're making sacrifices for Him and you're glorifying Him, not you, but Him. Even if you just say, babe, thanks, you say, God be the glory. I know people like, I get so tired of that. Well, you never should get tired of that.
Yeah, and I want to take this off of the table, and I know you're not saying it in this way, but I want to take out the phrase "it's not easy." I mean, I think that's a get out of jail escape card. It's not hard. Okay, we make things not easy. The Bible says, "Cast your cares upon the Lord," and what? Leave them there. And He's giving us the get out of jail free card. And in essence, it's not hard to follow God. Now, your example that you use with men, the problem that a man not following a woman who's following God and not going to church is because he has self-glorification of being his own leader.
Amen.
And it's very difficult to follow God if I want to be a leader too. You can't be Hitler and Jesus at the same time. You can't be Trump and
I was about to
Jesus
say
at the
Trump
same
think
time.
he can.
I mean, you can't be there. You know, they tell you that you can't be. You got to even hot or cold. Lukewarm, you're gonna be spewed out. You cannot be a great leader in Christianity if you're not a great follower. Now, people will say, "Oh, Obama was a great leader. He's a great president." Okay, that's fine. But we're not talking about worldly. Because the world will make everybody. There are people in this world that think that Trump is the greatest leader we've ever had. I mean, they've drunk the Kool-Aid. They think but we're not talking about worldly leaders. We're talking about people who follow God and they lead by examples. Pastors are leading by examples. They are the leaders of the church. They're the head of the church, but they are followers of God, leading by the example of Jesus Christ. That's what a pastor is supposed to be, a servant who leads by example, and people see his leadership and want to follow that leadership because they see he is a follower of God and he's not trying to be self-glorified within himself, which I've got to say, forgive me for saying this, I know some of y'all gonna be mad, there's a lot of pastors out there that think that they are the be-all and that you should follow them. And that's not biblical. But in this situation with a guy, you can't be a leader and think I'm going to follow somebody. No, I'm the head. I'm the head of the household. But you know what? I'm not the head of this household. God is. I'm leading by his example as the man in the household. But I'm not the leader of this house. He is. And so as a follower of God, my examples that I do always are born to be an example of what he's done. That he brought his son to be that example. I teach and I live that example of Christ. And so that way, I don't have, it ain't hard for me because I'm just following. I might, people are, Reverend McCain is a good husband. Reverend McCain is this. Reverend McCain is, until Brenda get mad at me. I can't stand him. But, Rick is, I understand that. But the problem is, if I'm the leader, I have too many faults to lead you. Okay? The Bible says we sin and fall short of the glory of God. Daily we sin and fall short of the glory of God. Christ, Jesus, has no faults. So I can't lead and pass him. He has no faults. He has no sins. He does no wrong. He's perfect in all his ways. Me, on the other hand, heck, I probably just sinned, early today and didn't realize it. I have the propensity to do wrong. There is no propensity to do wrong in Christ. Even he said himself, who came down to the earth in flesh, he said, there's only one good, and that's God. He, God in the flesh, as Jesus said, he's not good than God in the heaven. And so who am I? So it's not hard. We make it hard. It's not hard to be a leader by following Christ. The Bible's right there. Just follow it. I mean, I love that because, there are times that people, try to run away from responsibilities. You know that. They don't want to be responsible for nothing. In this case, Christ allows you to run away from your responsibilities by following him. Just do what he says. I don't have to be responsible for being good. If I do what he says, I'm being good. So I'm like, hey, I don't have to put any pressure on me to be good. And see, the problem is that it's hard for me to follow someone if I think I'm the leader. Remember that game, Follow the Leader? Everybody wanted to be the leader. The game was called Follow the Leader. And it was set up, some of y'all may be too young, like, what the heck was that? This was back then when people actually went outside and played. You would follow the leader. So the leader jumped over a bench, you had to jump over the bench. And if the leader jumped over the bench with one leg, you had to jump over the bench with one leg. If he jumped over the fence without touching it, you had to jump over the fence without touching him. He was in a swing and he swung out and jumped over the fence, you had to do it. If you didn't do it, you go back in the line. If you missed it, you had to go in the back of the line. If the leader tried to do something and wasn't doing it right, and then the other person after him did it, he would become the leader. But the game was called Follow the Leader, which meant,
like Simon Says like that too, right?
Yeah, well, Simon Says you just do what they say, but the game was following that person and everything they do. God tells us to follow the leader, and he doesn't ever mess up. So all I got to do is keep on doing what he's doing, and I'm okay. That's too simple. So let's stop making things harder than what it is. Following God is simple. You just got to do it. Nike, just do it. Just do it. But one of the things, babe, and I'm going to bring this back to you, is that we have a problem. You was talking about the man not following the wife that's doing that. You have a lot of times that a woman doesn't want to follow the man that's living a righteous life. She'll listen to anything that anybody else says, but when her husband is doing something right, she wants to be an enemy to him. Fight against him. He always think he knows something. He that. And it's like, okay, well, I'm living a Christian life. Why are you not doing that? And so what is it about the fact that if I'm born to be an example, and I'm only talking to Christians, y'all, because we Christians, we do the same thing that sinners do, or those who are not saved, maybe gently say it. Those who are not saved, we do the same thing that they do. Only thing we do is wear the Christian banner on Sunday. I'm saved and highly favored. What happens to Sunday night to Sunday night to Sunday morning? I mean, what happens in between that? You still saved and highly favored, and you doing the same thing?
The parking lot. You don't even need the hour.
As
the
goat
parking
says,
lot.
1 hour at the church. Hey, I'm even throw it this way. Let somebody take your seat in the church, and we'll find out how much of a Christian you are. You talk about people while they walking in the church. Girl, look at that dress. So we have the same issues ourselves, but I'm only talking to Christians. Why is it so hard, Brenda, for us? I got to take that out. Why is it so hard? It's not hard, but why do people seem to not want to simply follow the word of God? And as you said, the husband is doing right, but the wife doesn't want to follow.
Oh, I didn't say that. You said that.
No,
I said the woman is doing.
But I said, as you said. I'm not saying you said that.
Oh.
I'm reversing what you said.
Okay. Well, only thing I do know is people are, in the words of, what's the running mate name again? Tim who?
Tim Walz.
Tim Walz said, Trump done weird. and J.D. Vance done weird. People are weird and fickle because we will follow the likes of Trump because we see him. He's tangible. We could touch him. We could hear him. We could see him. We could get to him. Whereas, say, follow, just saying, follow me while I follow Christ. No, follow Christ. You don't see Christ, but if you saved and you really know the word, you do see Christ. You see Christ in yourself and other people, but people have to see something. And unfortunately, that's how the world works. God could put it right there for you, the perfect mate. You will find a flaw. You will find something with them. It's like, who is this God? If you're not saved, it's going to be, like you said, we're only talking to Christians. You ain't going to understand the gist of what we're talking about. If you're saved as a woman and your husband not, and your spouse, well, whichever way it's not, you unequally yoked. What you have to do is get on one accord in your relationship for you both could be that example. Because you have a lot of, and I only could speak of from what I grew up in seeing in the church, a lot of women in the church and the absent men in the church.
So I got to stop you because you're totally going off board on this.
No,
it's like woman's power.
Being an example.
Okay. Clean this up a little because you're really going off script where it's like the man this, the man that. Why is it that a woman won't follow a godly man? That's
my thing is why is well, it's supposed to be the woman's supposed to follow a godly man. Either she don't trust him, or it might be for the sake of. But women do. They would give their all for that spouse. They give them just whatever. They go to the ends and work with them. But when they don't want to follow Christ, it's like, okay, well, I need to do something. I have to retain my faith and get stronger in the word. Whereas you just sitting there like a lump. You're not being an example for me or your family. Okay,
but again, you're putting it on the man. I'm going to say one of the reasons why women don't want to follow the man because they don't want to feel like they're not equal to them. And so if I follow you, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying what you're saying because, of course, you're going to say no, but I'm just saying you can't just say, well, she don't trust him as though that's his fault. If you had on, did he do something to not trust you? You're making it seem like it's his fault, and so you're kind of like stepping away from it this woman power thing that you got
No,
here.
but my point
you know,
was when men are not in church, and unfortunately, back in the day, women would come home, Pastor said, Pastor, and men get jealous of hearing another woman dote on a man. And see, that's a tangible man that they know that they're seeing. But if a man would just focus on, if he's trying to be saved and he focus on the fact that God is real, if you step up, like I said, you say, well, why won't a woman do it? She got to see a man want to do it.
Okay, thank you very much for not really answering the question at
I
all,
answered
and
that.
actually trying to put the responsibility on the man for why the woman doesn't follow him. Like like you all are just golden and you just do everything right. And
We don't.
It's
but
not-
I do
yeah,
know
but
a woman will follow suit
but
with
no,
the
that's
husband.
not true. I mean, we saw that in the Bible where Hosea, was going out there looking at his woman. There was a prostitute. And he went to follow her. I mean, he went after her. I mean, let's not act like women always do what's right. I mean, let's take that off the table. And I'm not trying to go against women. I'm just being fair. Fair is fair. Women have their own. They have reasons why they don't want to follow a biblical man. And in a lot of cases, they don't want to. There are some women, surprisingly to Brenda and to the world at large, there are some women that don't want to go to church, that don't go to church, that are not looking for a church man. I know myself. When I was first dating people, they didn't want to date me because they thought I was too nice and I went to church. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's not going to change. But, you, with this reverse woman psychology stuff, trying to make it seem like it's the man's fault, James Brown said, this is a man's world. Brenda's version is, it's the man's fault. Because the woman would follow him if he's doing right. That's not true. I'm sorry, ladies. Y'all can sit there and be mad at me all you want to. That ain't true. There are some women out there that will not follow because they don't want to be following under a man, period.
I said majority.
Okay, I don't even know. I don't know majority. I'm not talking about the majority. I don't know. I'm not trying to do statistics. When I sat there and you talked about, the man not following the woman. Not at one time did you say she was at fault to what's up there. No. But when it came to the man's point of view, come on, help me out, ladies, that really want to be honest and actually, took the vow of Christianity to being honest. When it came to the man's point of view, it was all the man's fault. No, we ain't gonna do that here. Everybody has their own ability to do what's right and what's wrong. And all I'm saying is that there are women out there that will have a good man, and some of them have lost a good man and didn't want that good man because he was following something that they didn't believe in. It wasn't that they didn't believe in him or didn't like him, but they didn't want that. And the problem sometimes with men is that we'll choose that woman because of she looks good, the same reason why a woman will follow a man who ain't going to church because they like the way he looks or what he provides. And we have these issues that we have, earthly desires and wants that will cause us not to do what's right, being an example of Jesus Christ. You have to be reborn into this. And so I wasn't surprised that you went that way. You have a propensity to stand up for women like it's unbelievable.
I love you, Kamala.
And it's like, okay, we're talking Christianity here. What's right is right. What's wrong is what's wrong. But we do have that situation. I want y'all to say. I want you to say. Last week, I used me as the example of doing something wrong.
You did?
Because I said, what is something about me that you didn't like? You said you thought I was arrogant, blah, blah. And I used the example. Judgmental, whatever. Okay. Wow, she remembered that, though. And I used my example. Just now, in the example of a woman not following a man, you put all the responsibility back on the man. How does that work, people? I mean, we know this. That she's spoiled over here. She's, we talking about 30 years. I've been spoiled or rotten. But come on, every woman's ability to follow a man doesn't require him to do something. If she's, I mean, if he, we're already took the example that he was following God, and she didn't want to follow him, and you made it seem like he has to do something even more.
You know, when I look at that, maybe it is. I know you can say she bashing us again, but maybe she didn't want to be with that person.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Is this relationship letters?
Oh,
That
we got
has
a good
nothing to
one.
do about what we're talking about. Okay, get back to the evangelist part of you. Instead of the Betty Shabazz, where you're really you're spiritually understanding that women, just as well as men, have their reasons for not following someone,
They do.
and it has nothing to do with the person not following, because the example was that both of them were following God as leaders. And so that's like saying to the world, Jesus was a great leader, but maybe he didn't do something right, and that's why women didn't follow him. I mean, wait a minute. He was a man. He was born as a man. He had no pronouns. He was born as a man, and are we going to sit there and say, well, if he was doing something right, the women who didn't follow him probably would have followed him. You ain't gonna say that. But so why would you put that on any other man? I mean, if he's doing the leadership, following the leadership of God.
You see her look on her face.
Yeah, I know. Most people can't see that though. But
Wow.
I just I got to clean that up, because we're talking Christianity here, not sex, male, female. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. But the issue is that when we are following God, there are going to be people that are not going to want to follow you, or not listen to you, or will fight against you, because you're doing something that they don't believe in
Or
and don't
wanna
want
do.
to follow or do. And that's the simple thing about it. Hey, we got to go on here. I know Brenda's just playing her Betty Shabazz role over there, trying to stand up for women and stuff. Evangelist will be back in the next episode.
Oh, wow.
But we're gonna go here with a song that we have. For those of you all on Facebook and YouTube, stay with us, because we got a couple of stories we're gonna share. But we've got an old song. It's gonna be like old school information. This is Kevin Bridges, and he's gonna be singing the song "Chosen to do the work for the master." You're gonna have a couple of commercials, and we'll be right back. This is Rick McCain along with my baby, my girl, my boo. Let's get a talk show. Listen up to this music, commercials, and we'll be right back. All right, what you got for us? I don't know if it's going to be Evangelist or Betty Shabazz speaking. Let me know.
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Let's talk about Serena Williams and what happened in
It's going to be Betty Shabazz. and this one here, I can tell you that.
And what happened at the Olympics. Now, pronounce it again? Peninsula Paris Hotel explains Serena Williams' rooftop restaurant snub. But fans ain't buying it. Neither am I. And I'm saying that nicely. Now, she won the gold there. She been there. Her face is recognizable. We all know who she is. I'm not saying they didn't recognize her, but they did tell her that the rooftop, they does not have any, they cannot accommodate her right now. It's full. Even though it looks empty, people have reservations. So I think she was looking at, I'm Serena Williams. You could accommodate me, pull a table out for 4, make this happen. They shut her down and said no. She tweeted, and what's the new word? What's the new tweet thing? Since it ain't Twitter no more. She let her she let her fans know. X post? Okay. Oh, just a post. Oh, okay.
He's saying it's just a post. She was asking what was the new name of Twitter? Yeah, X.
Okay, X. So she took to the media, stated what she said. She didn't say it nasty, But she took to the media and said what she said, and her fans activated. And they like, we ain't buying that. They knew who she was. They know. See, here I go again. They knew who she was
Jesus.
and how they should have been accustomed to her. But what they didn't do at that time was recognize her as being Serena Williams and turned her away. So my question is all about this is although you're a celebrity, babe, should she been, should they had accommodated her? There's other people who came there to see the Olympics and wanted to see it and got their reservation. Should they had just made room for her?
So, um, you know what? I mean, I understand what the gentleman was saying, and based on his statement that he made, I don't agree with, and I think he was pretty much just lying. If I'm not mistaken, Wimbledon is in Paris, France. We're in France. That's where the Olympics was at. Serena Williams has been in a lot of matches in Wilmington, which is in Paris, France. It's in London, which is part of France. Um, you've seen her before.
England, though.
Yeah, but I mean, Wilmington is London, Paris, France. You've seen her before.
She been in Europe. We
Yeah.
can say that.
You've seen her before. You know her. I mean, she's recognizable. She has a distinguished face. And Brenda was like, what do you mean? I mean, you've seen her. That's what I mean. Michael Jordan has a distinguishable face. Taylor Swift, Beyonce. She's been around. If not in your country or state or city, you've seen her nationally on TV. She's been everywhere. Okay. Like that song, I've been everywhere, man. You know what who she is.
So it wasn't like me and you walked up in there and they'd be like, we don't know y'all.
No, because we don't have a distinguished face. We can walk on this block and people don't know who we are. But the thing of it is that he said in his answer that he didn't recognize her. And I'm like, where have you lived that you don't know her? If Taylor Swift came in there, would you recognize her? There's no way you can't tell. Serena has been for decades well known throughout the world, not the United States, the world. She's considered one of the world's greatest in tennis. And so there's no way you could sit there and say you wouldn't I have never seen Serena Williams personally. But if she walks past me, I'm going to know instantly that's Serena Williams. Not to mention you're going to see a lot of people around her anyway. But for him to say that, now, I hear some people saying, hey, well, she shouldn't get, special treatment and stuff like that. Okay, let's say that's true. But that's not true.
But he actually, though, the manager actually said, I didn't recognize her.
That's one of his quotes. He said, I didn't recognize her. And they had that on television as well. Celebrities get special treatment. You know that. If we go on our vacation, we're where we at in Hawaii, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden somehow or another Michael Jordan pops up. They're gonna make sure Michael Jordan gets a seat. We're just gonna have to wait. They're gonna do that because celebrities do get parental treatment. I mean, it's just. You can be mad all you want to. They shouldn't get any. Okay, true, but they do. And in some cases, just because they came to the restaurant and they could take a snapshot and put on their wall that Michael Jordan was there, they might even let him eat his food for free. He could pay for everybody in the restaurant and they'll let him get his food free because there is such thing as parental treatment for people that are recognizable. So for him to say that, that's the part that I'm bothered with. Not that she should get special treatment. She did get special treatment, and she should have got special treatment. But to me, what he's saying is that we're not going to let this black person have any special treatment here, and that's a problem. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that when we come back on the show. We got about maybe 10 seconds left, and we're gonna go right back to Soar Radio. So hey, you all, YouTube and Facebook, stick with us. We're getting back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo, Brenda McCain, aka Betty Shabazz. Earlier, you might see Evangelist McCain come a little bit later. We never know. She's a chameleon in some cases. You know, she'll be evangelist 1 second, and all of a sudden, is Betty Shabazz is coming back. You know,
It depends on the
and,
hot
you know,
flash.
those Sybil moments can come at any time. Also, speaking about things that can come at any time, this comes only once a week, and it's called the JD Morning Show, which comes on each Wednesday between the hours of 6 to 8 a.m. You'll have Justin Kidding again talking about some great things. And for September, we're going to do this, and I'm going to call it out now. We're going to be having all of the radio shows that are on Soar Radio. We're going to try to see if we can get them to be guests on our show. And so we can have some kind of a, kumbaya relationship with them and show you about the different shows that are on there. You probably already know, but, at this moment, in case you don't, if you don't know, now you know. Mm-hmm. Is that what my puff?
I don't know who said
that. Wasn't, was it, that wasn't, who was it? Biggie. Biggie said that, yeah, if you don't know, now you know. So you're going to get a chance to see them as well. Hey, we were talking a bit about a situation on Facebook and YouTube. If you get a chance to switch from the greatest station in the world, Soar Radio, on here on the internet, you can also see us on YouTube and Facebook. We're talking about the situation with Serena Williams. So I'm going to spend about a couple of seconds on that. We have no guests today. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this scenario that happened. And then I'm going to play you all this information that I have from Rachel Manners. But you were talking about the situation with Venus Williams out there and Serena. Did I say Venus? I'm sorry. Serena Williams. She was denied access to a restaurant. And I'm going to let Betty Shabazz tell you about that.
She was denied access with her family.
Access?
She was denied with her family of not eating at this restaurant on the rooftop. And unfortunately, her fans believe they turned her away because they're being prejudiced in 2024. Now, you're there at the Olympics. You're there with your family. You're trying to go eat at the restaurant that has the best view of the city. And it's an empty rooftop at that time. And they told her no. So, but I never read that the person said they didn't recognize what you said is out there, but that contradicts this apology. Dear Mrs. Williams, please accept our deepest apologies for the disappointment you encountered tonight. Unfortunately, our rooftop bar was indeed fully booked, and the only unoccupied tables you saw belonged to our gourmet restaurant. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, but it was fully reserved. The hotel emphasized that they have always been honored to welcome Williams and look forward to doing it again. So, if you was honored, unless this was a new person, new manager at the time, you should have recognized her. Makeup on, makeup off. You should have recognized her. So that's why I'm saying something just don't sit well with that. I understand why her fans are reluctant to take that apology, because it seems as though let's just put something out there because we don't want to lose business. But hey, you know, I doubt, because she not telling people if you dare don't go eat there or anything. It just didn't, the whole thing just doesn't seem right.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying you didn't see this, you didn't hear anything about it, as though, maybe what I was saying wasn't legitimate. But I saw this on CNN, news and stuff like that we were talking about the guy. And there are other stories out there about this. This restaurant, was it Peninsula? I can't remember the full name of it. They show you, the location, the beautiful big, white building, and has, all kinds of, different stories. It's about maybe 13, 14, I don't know, feet high or something. Beautiful building, it's it's a building that once you go to France, it's recognizable. I mean, when you walk there, you're never going to forget, how the building looks. Serena can go anywhere. Africa, Brazil, Ethiopia, Argentina, Poland, and she's going to be recognized.
Okay, here go one for you.
I guess I'm getting cut off now because you want to say something, but go ahead.
Did they say she was fully glam? Because, as we know, sometimes when you're not glammed, you don't recognize.
Let me tell you something. Serena Williams is never glamorous when you see her playing tennis.
And that's how you should recognize her. Yep.
So, I'm not saying that her makeup doesn't make her look that much different. It does help, but it's not like you're seeing a totally different person. Like, oh my God, she looks like Michael Jordan without the makeup on, but no, actually, she looks like, let's just put it, she looks like Beyonce with the makeup on, and so it was just totally unrecognizable. I mean, that's drastic, because you look at Venus, and most of the time you see her on national TV, she doesn't have her makeup on. She's playing, tennis, and so she's not going to have makeup on that's going to, run and cause, issues with her seeing, because, you sweating like that, I don't care what makeup you have on, it's going to run a little. So it's not like she went from Serena to Beyonce with the makeup on. And I'm just saying that's a totally different look. I'm not saying anything about beauty or anything about that. I'm saying a drastic change. That's just like me going to a restaurant with bald hair and I get a gray mustache, and all of a sudden I put on makeup and I look like Brenda. And you're gonna say, Rick, we did not recognize you. We know the great superstar you are, but who's Brenda? That's the kind of, she's recognizable. So to sit there and say, I didn't recognize, and the thing about it is now, the restaurants, doing their little, we know if we would have recognized, if we would have known, we would have, gave her a table. She's more than welcome to come back. How do you think Oprah Winfrey felt when they did that in France?
It's a pattern?
You saying she's not recognizable either?
Okay.
How is that this person is not recognizable? So to sit there and then not say, we'll welcome you back, and no, I'm not coming back. And I don't know what happened. Maybe the person was as nice as he could be, wonderful, and said, hey, we can't let you in. Now I'm sure somebody, if it wasn't even her, said to him, do you know who that is?
It's too late.
I'm talking about while she was there. Somebody. So what? That's Serena Williams. Somebody. Come on. The odds of everybody being there, not knowing who she is. Now he said he didn't recognize her. If we're somewhere, say we go to Hawaii and Taylor Swift comes up, but if it's Taylor Swift, somebody's gonna call it out. I'm sure people were calling out her name when she was walking in. That's Serena. They were probably speaking to her when she came into the restaurant. Hey, that's Serena. So to use that as your reason for not letting her in. Sorry to say this, people. Take my halo off of it. That's a bold-faced lie. Because if you didn't know, like Biggie said, if you don't know, now you know. You know now.
Agree with the fans that the stuff was just
it was
some BS.
It was some BS. It borderlines on being racial or racism.
Now you know what cracks me up? Everywhere Snoop was supposedly going, got in with no problem.
Yeah, Snoop had cameras with him too.
Oh, did he? Oh,
sure he would. Now, hey, it's not saying that Snoop wouldn't be, but I'm gonna let you know there would have been a little bit more ruckus If you didn't let the dog in, you know, there's gonna be a little bit more news. They didn't break it. They done broke news on Olympus. Wait, you know, Simone Biles is about to do her. They stopped Simone Biles from doing her uneven bars to go to this commercial break. Snoop Dogg was not allowed into a restaurant, and there's police everywhere. Something's gonna happen.
Lord Jesus.
You know, not the dog, but all reality. I don't like how they said they didn't recognize it, because if you didn't, somebody did. In that whole restaurant, they did not want to allow her in there without a reservation.
And you have other
regardless
celebrities in there
to
too.
who she is. Now I didn't know that they had others, but regardless to who she is, they didn't want to let her in, and that was just being international racism that most African American people do receive, regardless who you are. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. You can't come into the jury still.
Okay.
So I mean, that's basically all that was. Hey, hope you all are enjoying the conversation we have here. We don't have any guests today, but we are going to talk about something that I said I'm going to be talking about continuously until the election comes up. We had a wonderful situation for Democrats when Kamala Harris was chosen as the new running candidate for president. Joe Biden graciously bowed out because it didn't look like there was a lot of desire for him to be the president. Unfortunately, the debate he had with Trump didn't go well. He did seem out of focus, discombobulated, and showed his age to not be able to interpret things in a proper way, where people just jumped on it. You know, you got people now, boy, you do anything wrong, they jumping on you right away. Why you do this? Why you do that? And so, I mean, it just catapulted to a situation where Democrats felt that they were not going to be able to win with Joe Biden on the ticket. And so he graciously looked for the country more than himself and stepped down and decided he would not run again for president of the United States. Again, I'm going to say Joe Biden has brought in some great things for the 4 years that he's been here. It's not widely discussed because people are constantly focused on his age, and people falling in line with the stupidity taglines and little pundits that the Republicans are saying, as though Donald Trump is only like 4 or 5 years younger than.
But then
him.
who's the old one now?
He's the old one now. But it's a shame that that happened. But the new blood that they have in here now with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is electrifying. If you did not see them on any news outlets, go back to CNN, MSNBC. Don't go to Fox because they're not going to show it. If they showed it once, if they showed it at that time, you're lucky. Because Fox News it should be called Trump News. I mean that's just, now I will say CNN leans a little bit toward Democrats, but they are still fair. MSNBC is still fair. I just don't see that with Fox News. They are totally Republican, Trump, whatever. But I'm saying all this to say that the energy that we're having right now is starting to scare Republicans, because they are seeing something that they haven't seen since the days of Obama, a rejuvenant desire for youth, for African Americans, for celebrities, for fraternities, sororities. You've got whites for Kamala. You got Republicans for Kamala Harris.
Wow.
You got immigrants.
Now listen to what you just said.
I had to listen to what I just said.
We have Republicans for Kamala instead of Trump.
Right.
So they don't mind dividing their ticket up.
They're just doing what's right, because they know that Trump is not the person to have it. But I'm saying all this, and I'm going to let Ms. cut me off, Brenda, talk in a few seconds. I want you all to listen to this. Take some time. I don't know what you're doing. Stop for a second. But I want you to listen to this video that's coming up soon. If you're on Soar Radio, listen up. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, pay attention to this Rachel Maddow, MSNBC take. She is telling about the Project 2025, and Trump is telling his people, I want you to hear me now, newsflash, he's telling his people they don't need to vote because he already has enough votes. And I want you to think about this. Kenny, can you play that for me, sir?
But I said there's a lot going on at the surface level in terms of donors and campaign positions and campaign strategy and the way they're behaving in public. There's a lot that is weird about this campaign thus far. But there is one last thing in terms of the weirdness of this campaign that I think is actually quite serious. You probably heard this weekend that Donald Trump told an audience on Friday night that if they vote for him this November, if he's voted back into office this November, they will never have to vote again. He told an audience on Friday to, quote, get out and vote just this time. He said after this time, quote, you won't have to do it anymore. You won't have to vote anymore. He said, quote, in 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, and you're not going to have to vote. Now, this is not the first time Trump has told a campaign audience that they will never have to vote again once they vote him back in this time. And that is as alarming as it sounds for all the reasons that you immediately think it is, right? I mean, he's positing this like this is a happy thing. Oh, joy, never having the burden of voting again, right? The point of democracy is that we vote all the time, and we like it. That's how we decide what happens in our country. He's promising his followers that he'll end all of that. And it's exactly what you think it is. But let me also point out something more strange, which has been happening at the same time and it hasn't had as much attention. The day before Trump made those remarks on Friday he said, you're never going to have to vote again after you vote for me this one time. The day before that, on Thursday last week, he didn't say that people wouldn't have to vote anymore once he was elected this November. No, the day before that, on Thursday, he told his supporters not that they're not going to have to vote again, but that they don't have to vote this time, that they don't need to vote for him this November.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes. He said that on Thursday last week. And it turns out this is something, when you look, he says this all the time now. Watch.
My instruction, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes.
We don't need votes. I tell my people, I don't need any votes. We got all the votes we need. I don't need votes. We don't need votes. We got more votes than anybody's ever had. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
Don't worry about voting. Of all the weirdness around this campaign, this is a truly strange thing to tell people, right? Don't vote. I don't need your vote. I don't want your vote. I mean, all the surface level weirdness is, worth noting. Having a new position on literally anything you can think of as soon as any random rich guy tells you to, that's a weird thing. Picking the eccentric billionaire's intern for your running mate, even though you apparently had no idea who he was or what a disaster he is on television, all of this is weird. But telling voters, do not bother to vote for me, it doesn't matter if you do, I don't need your votes. That is a thing that should prick up your ears. Because what that means is that he doesn't think he needs to win the vote to win the election. He doesn't think he needs to win the election in order to take power. He thinks something other than votes is going to determine whether or not he gets back in the White House. At Rolling Stone today, they profile 70 different election officials who have been put into position in the swing states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, who are election denialists, committed election denialists, officials that have been put in place in all of those swing states to make sure that election results, no matter what they are, do not get certified in those states this year. Quote, at least 22 of these election officials have already refused or delayed certification processes in recent elections. According to Democratic election lawyer Mark Elias, quote, I think we are going to see mass refusals to certify the election in November. Quote, Republicans are counting on not just that they can disrupt the election in big counties, they're counting on the fact that if they don't certify in several small counties, you can't certify statewide results. 70 officials in place across just the swing states. For all the surface level weird behavior and language and strange choices and incoherence and odd donors in the Republican campaign, the serious core at the heart of it is that they are not planning on the vote being counted as normal. They are not counting on the election results being tallied as normal. They are not counting on the vote. And in fact, Trump is now repeatedly saying the vote will not matter. He doesn't even want your vote. The Republicans are counting on the election results not being certified, thereby creating chaos in Washington around the results. Just like 2020, right? Just like January 6, 2021, except this time with no Mike Pence in the way and with Republican officials already in place in multiple states saying, yeah, you may not get any sort of official vote. The weirdness of this campaign is astonishing 99 days out. The dislocation from real campaigning, though, the dislocation from actually asking people for their votes, that means something. It means they are not trying to win this thing in a normal way. So 99 days out, as Democrats stand up what, by all accounts, looks like a juggernaut traditional campaign under Kamala Harris, are they prepared for this level of weirdness after the votes are cast? Are they ready for what's coming?
All right, my God. I mean, if you have not heard what she just said, you are going to miss something amazing. The Bible says the people perish because of the lack of knowledge. Rachel Maddow is telling us right now, Trump has told his people in many campaigns that he's went to, you don't have to vote. Don't worry about that. You don't have to vote. I got enough votes already. You don't have to vote. Now, like he's a Swami or he can read the future, he already knows he has the votes needed to win. And as she said, the Republicans are not even concerned about winning the elections with votes because they've got 70 people in swing states. Now, the swing states are usually the ones that you have to win in order to win the election. There are red states that are always red. They're going to go red. There are blue states that are always blue. They're going to go blue. But states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin's, North Carolina, I think, it's up at the top. I can't remember all of them. Those are the states where they have 70 local officials set up to not certify the votes if their candidate is not winning. And if you cannot certify the votes, if the person is refusing to certify the votes, then you cannot count that state for the individual who won. So, if example, if Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania and you have a Republican set there to certify the votes and he doesn't give the certification of the votes, that state is not recognized. And so by default, if that state is not recognized, the person who has the most votes at that time that has been certified would be the presidency. Now, also look at something that Rachel Maddow didn't say. Trump has the Supreme Court. So if that certification does not get certified and it has to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, will the Supreme Court, who said already that Trump is not guilty for the things that he's done, will the Supreme Court back him and allow him to not certify those states and say this is a local matter. If the state does not want to certify, they can't. Now, also look at the fact that this is something we totally forget because I don't know who they are. I don't care who it are. Watch out who your governor is. Now, there may be an issue with certification in Pennsylvania because the governor is Shapiro. But if you have a swing state governor who is Republican and he agrees that they're not going to certify that for whatever reason, Trump is actually putting a plan together, which is a part of Project 2025, to not worry about winning the election through votes. He's telling you he's going to steal the election. Now he's out there tomorrow. We don't want the Democrats to steal the election. He doesn't want them to do it because that's what he's trying to do. Now, I listen to CNN, MSNBC. I've shown you several different people talking. You've heard congresswomen talking about Project 2025. You've heard, about all the things that they're concerned about. Now you're hearing from Donald Trump himself telling people, you don't have to vote. Don't worry about it. I got enough votes. He ain't talking about people because you heard him also say, if you vote this time, you'll never have to vote again. But he's realizing something, that there's a chance that he can lose. And he doesn't want to do that again. So he's setting this up so he can have officials in place in swing states. And I got to pull up this map to show the swing states. I'm going to let Brenda talk in a second. In swing states, where he has officials there that can block the certification of those election votes. Now, I'm not legally versed in law and political things and stuff like that, so I don't know how far this can go. But he's setting it up so that we'll never have to vote again because he's going to take away our freedom to vote. And we're going to be like China. We're going to be like Russia. And you're going to have one man in charge of the whole United States. Mm-hmm. And you will never have to vote again because, hear this, he doesn't care about you and your vote. He only cares about what he wants. We talked earlier, a great leader must first be a great follower. Trump don't know how to follow because all he wants to do is follow himself.
He don't even know how to lead.
So, what you got to say?
He don't even know how to lead. The sad part about this, if that can really happen, that's letting you know that this world, America, is just built on mistrust, deceit, everything, deception. Is because if this man really think he could get away with that, then that's scary. 1 minute you telling people, oh, I don't care if you die, I just need your vote. Oh, I'm not a Christian, but Christian people just go out there and vote. Now you're saying, I don't need your vote. And you know what the thing that gets me? You're saying that, and you would hope that these fools believe it and they don't go out and vote, period. And the other thing gets squashed down, that you don't have no votes, even though you're going to have something. But it's just terrible that this is how this is going, babe.
Yeah. Now I'm going to tell you, these are the swing states. The 13 is Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Arizona, Georgia, Virginia, Florida, Michigan, Nevada, Colorado, North Carolina, and Maine. Oh. He's trying to put people in place in these swing states to stop the certification. Like I said, he's going to have a problem in Pennsylvania because Shapiro is the governor there, and everything goes up to the governor. You're going to have a problem in Minnesota, of course, because your new vice president right now is from there, Tim Walz. So he's going to have a problem with there. You're probably going to have a problem with Michigan because you got Gresham there. Florida, you got a Republican person there. I'm not sure about the other places. Arizona, I'm not sure about the other places. I think Wisconsin has a Republican governor. So, I mean, when we sit there and say, I don't care about the person who's running, I don't care. You got to. Because people can put things in plan to stop you from ever having the freedom to do anything. You do know that most people don't really pay any attention to 1965, where the rights, voters' rights were there, and before then, blacks were restricted from voting. And I'm just pulling up the Voters' Rights Act in 1965. If your vote is taken away, your freedom to have an opinion is taken away. Roe versus Wade was the took away the freedom of women's choice. Now I'm a Christian. I don't believe in abortion, but I don't believe that the government should tell a woman what she should do with her body. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. If someone wants to do, to me, it would be sinful. But they still have the choice to do what's right or what's wrong. They're trying to stick the 10 Commandments in every state. I guess these are the Republican states. The 10 Commandments, and they're going to put people like, they're trying to put people like Martin Luther King on there and other, prestigious people like, they're standing with the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments is an Old Testament. I mean, it's not like we don't follow it, but we lend them the grace. So, why are you going back there? So they putting
that in there now.
It has been every school, like as a Republican school. They want to have it in every school.
But you took the Bible out of the schools.
Right, but the 10 Commandments could be in there.
Jesus.
But I want you all to understand what's happening. I'm going to talk about this a little bit, and then we're going to go on. This is news media, one of the top news medias, political news medias in the United States. You got CNN, MSNBC, MCNBC, which is like the CBS version, and then you get Fox, which is, I call them the National Enquirer of the news. This is a top political news outlet, MSNBC, telling us the people perish for the lack of knowledge. That Trump is telling people, don't worry about voting. What person running for office have you ever heard them say that? In Russia, Putin don't worry about people voting. Because if you don't vote for him and they find out, they may kill you. You can't run against him. The person that tries to run against him has recently been killed. Had to leave. He was poisoned. They tried to poison him. They was unsuccessful. He came back to Russia to fight against. His name is on the tip of my tongue, and I can't say it right. Came back to Russia, and then they killed him, put him in jail, and killed him. We ain't gonna miss this time. So you ain't gotta worry about voting. Putin ain't gotta worry about you voting. Trump is telling you the same thing.
But that's his hero, right?
Yeah. If I get in there, you don't ever have to worry about voting again. Matter of fact, I'm putting together a program. Well, I don't even need your votes. Trump never wants to depend on anyone giving him something that he can take. If I can take it, I don't need you. Trump is not a person that wants to depend on other people to get him what he wants. Kind of sounds like Satan to me, Antichrist to me. So, minorities, African Americans, especially young African Americans, you need to get out and vote. Let the politicians fight over this stuff that he's talking about, because, you know, he's letting you know it's out there. You know, there's some things they probably don't know, but they need to be prepared for. We might be having our own North versus South war again. But you need to get out there and vote. Flood the thing so much that they're like, we can't stop this. But you got to get out and vote. I want you to hear this. Trump is not telling his people not to vote. He's telling Democrats not to vote. You don't have to vote. He's using reverse psychology by saying, you don't have to vote. Don't worry about it. I got too many votes already. So me as a young person saying, well, heck, if he already going to win this thing, why am I going to get out there and vote? Why am I going to waste my time to vote? It's reverse psychology also.
Wasn't it a song called Don't Believe the Hype?
Yeah.
Just come on, people.
I mean, he's using reverse psychology. He wants to stop people who Democrats, Republicans, and even those who are Democrats, Republicans, and independents, who are the Republicans that are upset with him, the independents that don't want to vote for him, and Democrats that are not going to vote for him. He's trying to do the same thing that happened to us when Hillary, when we was fooled to think she was going to win this thing. We ain't got to vote. Now he said, hey, you don't have to vote. But he's not talking to them. He's setting it up to steal it. But he wants to lower the votes of those who are not going to vote for him, so he doesn't have to steal it. But he's prepared to take it by force if he has to. And this is why I think the man should have been in jail. Because when you let Pandora out of the box, it's hard to put that demon back in there. And now we are really seeing how people can deviously try to steal, kill, and destroy the very freedoms that people have died for, the very freedom that God has given us all, the freedom of choice, free will. This is being taken away by the forces of evils. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. This is being taken away. And if you don't pay attention to what's happening in this election, you're going to blink your eye and you're going to feel like you're in slavery. Wake up, people. We're going to have another session about this next week, but I don't think I've seen anything more powerful than hear men telling you, you ain't got to vote. We're going to have this fixed. I got people set up that's not going to certify the election. Don't worry about it. We're good. And telling you this.
That person had one job, just one.
You know, but okay, here we go. But hey, we got to go on. We're going to talk about some more things, but get ready because we're going to be talking about this until the election is over. Take the time to read Project 2025. If it's not just maybe 10 pages a day, you know, you know, 920 pages is a lot, but
hit the highlights.
yeah, hit the highlights. Find out what things you should know. You know, but let's go on to what we're gonna be talking about now. You know what? We're gonna go to a song. That's right. I'm gonna go to a song here, and I believe I'm gonna be going to Donnie McClurkin. Am I going there? You know what, Kenny? I think. What did Donnie McClurkin? What did I have Donnie McClurkin? Great is your mercy. You know what I want to go to? I'm going to go to Yolanda Adams. Can we go to that first? Because it says the battle is not yours, it's the Lord. Hey, this battle is yours on the earth. But trust in the Lord, the battle that we're going to go through is not in our hands. It's in the Lord. Hey, listen up to this song from Yolanda Adams. A couple of commercials for those of you on Facebook, YouTube. Stay with us. And me and Brenda will be right back. All right, baby. So what do you think about that? That's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's disgusting, and it's amazing that if he pulled that off, then we're just SOL. But the thing that gets me is that he about to have to run for his money, and it's going to be a great segue for you to talk about what you heard from her speaking. The topic right now is 5 key reasons that Kamala Harris announced who she picked, which is Tim Walz, Walz. The vice president is said to have liked Mr. Walz's policies, his Midwestern appeal, and the likelihood that he will be a loyal running mate and governing partner. Now, I just want to say the 5 things, and if you don't mind sharing what you saw today at the convention. Now, one of the reasons she said his plucky dead vibes, that he's 60 years old. Okay, he was a football coach, ex-military person as well, but he garners some coolness with that. So that's something that I think she said that will appeal to people, the way he is and how laid back he is, but he could hit, which I think you said you seen some of that today. He's a populist. His populist policies as governor, Mr. Walz championed a host of liberal policies in Minnesota that are popular with Democratic and independent leaning voters. Third point why she chose him over the one, was it Shapiro? The one that they thought
Shapiro.
that was going to be the one for her. His potential to speak to rural voters. Raised in rural Nebraska, Mr. Walz is the son of a homemaker and a public school administrator, and he enlisted in the Army at the age of 17, so he could pull young and old. And then you have his contrast with Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance. Total polar opposite. Ms. Harris and her advisors believe Mr. Walz would match up well on a debate stage against Senator Vance of Ohio, former President Donald J. Trump's vice presidential candidate. And really, then last, in the end, it came down, they got great chemistry. Babe, you seen it in action today. Did they have great chemistry on stage?
They did have some great chemistry, but let's just be honest here. The reason why she picked Walz over Shapiro is the future. I mean, he's elegant, well-spoken person, Jewish descent, which caused an issue because of the Palestine Jewish, Palestine Israel situation. So that did cause a little bit about it. But Shapiro is the future. He's probably candidate material for the next 8 years, depending on how long, Kamala Harris stays in there.
Well,
You
she
ready
get
to
to do
correct me
8
right off the
years,
bat, aren't
too.
you? So we don't know how that's going to work. But Walz is there to get the rural white votes. He's like a good old boy. Their chemistry was great. I mean, he will support and be behind her what she needs. Shapiro was president bound right there, and you don't want someone outshining you. I mean, his introduction today was just electrifying. I mean, he brought the crowd in there. He's a like an Obama kind of guy. Really electrifying. Elegant speaker. Like I said, well spoken. That's our future. We got something to look forward to the future. What Kamala Harris needs is a Walz that can get her that rural vote. Those whites in, usually those suburbs and northern suburbs and stuff like that strictly votes Republican, but now they're frustrated with Trump, and now they see someone on the ticket that understands them. He was from, I think he said he was from Idaho. He talked about his family and living on the farm and how he went through some things, and he resonates with that crowd. And so if I can steal some votes away from Republicans through that, that's going to be helpful. And so I think that the choice was great in Adex, but he has some great one-liners. I think we talked about it. He was saying that make no mistake, in Trump's presidency, crime was up, and then he said that's not even including the crime he committed, and it brought a rousing applause from the crowd because he has that zinger kind of attitude. He will attack when needed, and I think that the Republicans right now are really concerned about the presidents, right now, because I mean, when Biden was there, Trump was losing in all these swing states, and they call them swing states because typically everyone votes a certain pattern. You look at the map, you look at the map of the United States, and you see all these red states voting Republicans. You get worried, but they don't have as many, votes that you can calculate.
Are they little population
Yeah,
states?
the little population. And I can't remember what the thing is called anymore. My mind is just spinning. But their votes are not calculated as much. So you might have.
What are they? The college? Not college.
What are those things? Thank
Okay,
you.
I
Electoral
got
college
half
vote.
of it.
Most people can't hear Kenny in the background. We get about 15 seconds. We're going to talk about this again when we get on the air, and then we'll continue on with this, and then we'll talk about why did I get married. So give us a few seconds, and we're coming right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo. Hope you enjoyed that song, I should say, from Yolanda Adams, where she was singing how the battle is the Lord's. I want to sing the song. The battle is not yours, it's the Lord. It's the battle is the Lord from Yolanda Adams, and we're just talking about recently the election with Rachel Maddow was talking about Trump. Recapping what we talked about, told his voters, you don't have to vote because I got this already. Don't worry about it. We got enough votes. I'm going to steal this thing. You heard about Satan steal, kill, and destroy? That is my motto. I'm going to steal, kill, and destroy to get this election. And he will do it any way he can. And then we started talking about, Brendan was talking about on Facebook, YouTube, the 5 things about why Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz. And he's a great guy. So we was talking about that, and I think the thing about it is that people need to understand is that those swing votes really matter. Like I was saying, is electoral votes. You see the map a lot of times. You see all these red states. Democrats don't have a chance because you go toward the northern side of the suburbs and you look at, the other side of the suburbs, the northern side of the state, and you look at Idaho and Wyoming and all these other places, and Republicans pretty much win it all. But you could have like 8 states that he could win, and he gets California, and California has 55 delegates. That might be more than all those 8 states, because one state may have 8 votes, another one may have 2 votes, 3 votes or 4 votes, and it doesn't even calculate to winning California, which usually goes Democratic all the time. And so the swing states count because those are the states that will sometimes go Republican, sometimes go Democrat. They swing left to right, depending on who's running at that time.
And Atlanta is one of those states too.
Atlanta's not a state. Georgia.
Yeah. Georgia is one of those states. So,
Public school, everybody. Public school.
Hey, but I was class president.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Hey.
Wow, class president. Atlanta's a state.
You know what I mean.
know. I'm just having some fun with you. But Georgia is one of those states. And
Shocking.
why?
I don't know, because I think about, what was her name? Stacey Abrams. Oh, she
Yes.
swung it to blue. Okay.
But Georgia still has a Republican governor.
But that year she took it to the blue.
She tried. No, she was running for governor and she lost.
No, when I'm talking about before that.
Oh, you mean swing it over to? She won it
the
over
votes.
for congressmen and stuff like that. Yeah, she did for that. But as I was gonna say, you just threw me off here again. What was I saying? The swing votes really count because they make or break the election. And so what Trump is trying to do is steal votes from those swing states. And so when you look at places like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Arizona, Georgia, Virginia, Florida, Michigan, Nevada, Colorado, North Carolina, Maine, those kind of swing around, and so they can make or break an election. and Kamala Harris needs to win this. Now, there was a concern because before Biden jumped out of the race, Trump was winning a lot of these swing states. And it's amazing that this is a convicted criminal. This is the best they could offer, and he's beating him. And so it's like, wait a minute. This does not make any sense. And the reason why he was beating him was not because Republicans were going to vote for him. It was because Democrats were not feeling comfortable about voting for Biden. As soon as they made the decision that Kamala Harris is going to go, and she brought up about almost $250 million in a 48, 72 hour period.
That's a bad AKA.
The thing changed almost overnight to a dead heat. And it was just, I mean, it was like, oh my God, this, I mean, people just start throwing in the money. More money, more money, more money.
You
They're
got
just
some
throwing in the
money?
money to support this. And it just, you know, you're like, is this a the Republican, this is the honeymoon stage. No, this ain't a honeymoon stage. Mm-hmm. You know, and again, we do understand that in a lot of cases, this is more people not wanting voting for Trump. You know, Kamala Harris is well educated, probably more educated than most men that ran for president. So was Hillary Clinton. That did not help her at that time. But now people don't want to vote for Trump. But also people want to vote for Kamala. And so that's the thing. You get this infusion of young voters who are now seeing the reason for why they should vote. And women, and I still say this, and people may argue with it. You're going to see a lot of women who were Republican either not voting or voting for Kamala Harris because of that Roe versus Wade decision. It's more prevalent than they're trying to make it seem like. That is something they don't like. Don't take away my choice. You're gonna tell me what I can't do with my body? All that religion stuff in the side. I know you preaching. What are you saying? All that religious stuff that the Republicans are trying to throw up. This is wrong. This is blah blah blah. Okay, I understand that. It may be wrong, but it's still my choice.
Right.
I'm not planning on having an abortion. But you got some women saying, I wasn't planning on doing it, but you can't tell me I can't with my body. And so that's going to play a pivotal part. And you're going to see Democrats running on that. But the thing about it is that you need to understand what's happening in this election, and it is going to take away a lot of your abilities if Trump gets into office. We got to move on. We're going to talk about this throughout the time of the election. Babe, what do we got? We got about 20 minutes though. Let's see if we can throw this in. We don't have any plays because we haven't seen anything. I don't know when I'm going to go back to see the plays. I've been not going to some because of certain reasons. I just wasn't up for it. But we might get back to it before we leave.
One this week. That's it.
But we don't have any plays. Quickly do something about Ife, Club 50, then go into Why Did I Get Married?
Hey everyone, thank you for all of the work that you have been giving me over the summer. I'm appreciative. Got those reunion things. I've been working on weddings, baby showers, everything. And I appreciate that. If you need something done, ifedesigns@gmail.com. Email me. If you're on Facebook, message me, and I could contact you, and we could make all your ideas come to reality. Club 50
Stop for a second. I want you to remember
What?
that there might be someone who's first listening to the show that has no idea what Ife Design is. So can you talk to that person that you don't know if they're out there or not? What is Ife
That
Design?
is true. My name is Brenda McCain, and I have a
Quickly,
graphic
though.
company called Ife Designs, where I could bring all of your ideas to a reality and meet all of your graphic needs, from programs, invitations, graphic posters, banners, whatever you need, and you need a unique spin on it. contact me at efaydesigns@gmail.com or on social media, Facebook. You can direct message me if you have my number, call or text me.
All right. What about Club 50?
Club 50 has been on hiatus for the summer. We are going to be getting back, and it really has been, I have been overwhelmed with work in a good way. I'm loving it, but we will get back. I did post something for Kamala Harris, so we're still out there. You could check that out at theclub50.com because I'm just overwhelmed and over the moon with her. Do you want me to read the relationship letter real quick?
No, we're going to go to Why Did I Get Married? Spend about 10 minutes on that. Then we can go to the relationship letter.
Okay. Why did I get married? Approaching 30 years. How am I doing, Rick?
So I was listening to my boy yesterday on another radio station, Sir Walter Jones, and he made this statement, and I'm like, man, I got to use that. About people who go to a restaurant or buy something from Amazon, and he says, and once after you get, you purchase the product, he says, what is the one thing that happens next? People were saying, this and that. He says, somebody, says survey. He says, yes, it's a survey. The company wants to know how they were doing. And I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, that can work really well in a marriage scenario, because it's probably one of the questions that most people don't really want to know. The company wants to know because they want to know what they might need to improve their services. Not necessarily they're going to do it, but they want to have an idea, what went right, what went wrong, what could we do? And they're looking for that. And they're looking for that person to be reciprocal or respond to them without them being reciprocal, responding back to them like, well, I didn't like that. What about what you didn't do? They're not looking for that. But I thought about it. One of the things that we have issues with as humans is asking somebody, how are we doing? And in your marriage, me and Brenda are approaching 30 years, and I don't really think I've ever asked the question, how am I doing as a husband? Because what happens is, a lot of times when we ask a question, we want to have a reciprocal response. I'll give you an example. Brenda will ask me sometimes, how was your day? And it's okay. And then she one time say, why don't you ask me about my day? And I'm like, I wasn't at that time, but you asked me a question. I didn't know it was a reciprocal response that needed to be, that I was going to have to ask you the same thing you're asking me. I said, so it actually seems like you want to tell me about your day. And I don't really, at the time I wasn't concerned about it. It's not that I don't care, but I wasn't expecting that your question to me had to be reciprocal. And the problem we have in a marriage is, if I've got to ask the question, how am I doing? You might want me to reciprocate and have you ask me the same question, and I may not want to know the answer. And I've always taught something. It may sound like it's kind of oxymoron. And I taught people in marriage, I said, the one thing you need to do is love this person 100% without looking for anything in return. If the husband loves the wife 100% without looking for anything in return, and the wife loves the husband 100% without looking for anything in return, reciprocal, then the relationship will be fine and be strong and will build on a solid foundation, because they're giving without looking for anything in return. So when you ask the question as a husband or as a wife, how am I doing? You have to ask that question in a non-reciprocal response, meaning you don't say something back because you don't like the answer, or you really want that person to ask how they are doing, how you're doing for them. Or you don't want them to ask you that same question. So it takes a lot to ask a non-reciprocal question of, how am I doing? I want to do a survey. And so I'm going to use me because you can already tell that Brenda, her response to a woman is that the man ain't doing something right. So we ain't going to go through that no more. So I'm going to be the person to say something to Brenda and say, I want to know from you, how am I doing as a husband? Now, I'm sure there's some bad things, but, don't get ridiculous, with your response. But how am I doing as a husband?
Is it a rating scale or just me generally talking?
Just generally talking. I mean, I don't know what a rate, just generally talking.
As a husband, I'm not just saying this because we're on the air, but Rick is a God-fearing man. He's a good guy. And I wouldn't trade that for nothing in the world. That I've been with this man for 30 years. And it's some things we don't like about each other, but as a husband and provider, he puts me first. And I might buck against him with a lot of stuff, but he always have my best interests at heart. And I love that in him. He knows when I need stuff before I need it. And that's one thing I do love about him, even though we do get a lot of Amazon packages. But something would come and Rick just, being just the person he is here. And I'm like, wait a minute, did he hear me fussing about this or something? But I know, I love that in you. First of all, I love the fact that you are a spiritual man. And I will follow you. Unlike what we was talking about earlier, if I don't trust or feel like I could follow you, it's like that's kind of hard. But with Rick, I love that in him. I love how he always put me first in our relationship, and he always have that desire to want to do. Even like I said, even if we mad at each other, like sometimes like he ain't perfect and I ain't perfect, but the thing that gets me with him, he has a great heart, and it's not just with me. I notice he shares that great heart with other people. And I remember, like in the 10th year marriage, someone asked me, are you okay with Rick doing this for people? And I'm like, yeah, because that shows his goodness, the Christianity in him. Because he would give you the shirt off of his back for as a husband in this household. I respect and I love you, baby. I won't have to sign that contract again.
Okay, so I appreciate that.
Pay me after the show.
I appreciate that very much, and I did like how she said it. Almost like as a husband. I'm like, is there something that I'm not doing as something
that's
else?
what we're talking about as a
I know,
husband.
but the way you said that, as a husband, like there are some things you're not doing good as this. But I want you to think of one thing that as a husband, I'm not doing good on your survey, so I can have a response.
Communication.
With that. So I don't communicate well at all, or what?
No, you do when you want to. You just said it. It's like I would say something not only to get a response back, but I want a dialogue back. I don't think we're wired different that way, and I think most women we have 2,500 words compared to whatever you guys
25
have.
million.
Well, whatever, compared to whatever you got. Sometimes, like, when I do say, baby, how's your day? I do want you, to ask, because it's like, man. Like in the morning, something with us. I'm a hugger in the morning, because I was raised that way. My mom always said, I want to see your face, and that'll let you know how a person is doing, because she usually check our face out and give her babies a hug. If Rick walked past, because I work up earlier, and I'm in my office working, he'll peep in, let me know he up. But I wait for him to get situated, and I come into his office and just ready to hug and love up on him.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you because
I said communication.
but I'm just saying we only have about 10 more minutes.
Okay.
I'm trying to make a point here. You didn't went all on a tangent. Blah, 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 blah. So communication would be something as a husband that I need to improve on. So the survey would say, as a husband, I need to work on communicating with you in a dialogue manner. I should not have a reciprocal response to that and say, well, maybe you should let me talk sometime. That's reciprocal response instead of just allowing my wife, ooh Lord, my wife to tell me something on my survey. I said, how am I doing as a husband? And she wrote down, needs to communicate more in a dialogue manner, so we could, have a stronger communication with each other. I should not have a reciprocal response because I don't like that answer. I should be able to, on that survey, find out the things that I'm doing well at. She's telling me about a good, fearing husband, shirt off his back, but I'm doing well in that. But the things that I'm not doing well on, I shouldn't sit there and be angry, upset about it, because I'm trying to find out what I need to do to make the relationship stronger. And so if I am in some ways failing or not meeting the standards to strengthen that relationship, then I need to look at it as a godly man that she says that I am, and do a better job communicating in a dialogue fashion that makes her feel happy about coming to me and discussing to me and talking to me. And so that's what you have to do when you're doing that thing, when you're going to your husband or your wife. You have to be open to, you may call it criticism, but to the part of the survey that needs improvement. Mm-hmm. And that will strengthen your relationship. Because remember, we say this all the time, God is in the relationship. And so for me as a husband, I need to take that portion of that survey and learn from it. Now, it's good to hear all the other things. Keep doing that, keep making sure you do that. Don't lack on that. Well, I'm doing that, I ain't got to do it anymore. But the problem we have in relationships is that we're afraid to hear the truth about something that we may not be doing, because then we'll say, well, what are you doing? Well, maybe there's a reason why I ain't doing that, because you ain't. And that's reciprocal. When you ask, how am I doing? You want to know so you can strengthen the relationship. And that's the key thing. It's about the relationship, because that relationship is connected to God. And so you want to make sure, as a godly man in this scenario, that I am, we talked about it earlier, bring it back again, to be a great leader, you must be a great follower. That I am following the examples of Christ Jesus as I lead as a husband, and what do I need to make sure that nothing kills, steal, and destroy my relationship by the lack of what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And if I can do that as a husband, if I can do that as a wife, then it strengthens the relationship, that when an attack comes against it, you're not reciprocal or divisive or argument or going back on it. When you ain't doing this, you're looking at it and saying, I asked the question so I can make sure the relationship is strong. I should be able to accept this and try to improve on it. So as a leader that is following God, I am doing what God requires me to do. And if we can get to that point of our relationships in our marriage where we are surveying, hey baby, how am I doing today? We want to know how you're feeling, but as a husband, as a wife, am I doing what's right for you? And be appreciative enough to accept it. And that wife also say, hey, am I doing what's right for you? And then listen to it and say, hey, girl, I got to go because I asked, Rick, what am I doing? Some of the things I'm doing. And one of the things he wanted me to do was spend more time with him, or go out doing this with him. And I want to be that wife. And you girl, you let him do that? But then they're also going to say, wow, is that why he's so devoted to her? Is that why their love languages are being met? Is that why?
They've been married for 30 years.
Yeah, they've been married for 30 years. I mean, it's a process. But you have to get to a point where you're looking at it as though this is a survey that you're asking because you're trying to walk as an example of God, leading you back to the first thing we talked about, born to be an example. So please follow those responsibilities. I think we're going to have the relationship letter wait until next week. That's okay. So we're going to get about 5 minutes left. You got any last words you want to say about that?
I love that. I think every couple should adapt that into their relationship. I know we used to joke around every year. It's like, are we renewing this contract, this commitment? What are we going to do? And I guess we kept renewing it and renewing it and renewing it.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have to have enough strength to be able to handle the answer you might receive. Because if you ask it, you better be ready for the answer. It could be good, bad, or hey, you just need to work on some stuff. But not for you to just use that as advice to rule over someone, or you take it with thin skin instead of thick skin and just say, you know what, these are some things I need to work on. So that's a great tool. Love that you brought that up.
Very good. And I thank God for placing that in my mind so that I might share with you. For I am just a follower of Christ, and I try to lead by his examples. We've got about a few minutes here left, and I think we're going to probably end off. We had the song. Kenny's going to play whatever he wants to because we only got about 4 minutes left. We're going to... we got nothing else we got to say. Hopefully, y'all caught that information from Rachel Matters. I'm going to put that out on Facebook a little later on today as well, so you can look at that. But we've got about a couple of minutes left here, and we're going to end our show today with a song that's going to be coming from Donnie McClurkin. I'm looking at the paper and can't even see what it is. What is that song, Kenny?
We love us
They
some
say,
glitter.
Great is your. We're gonna end the song with "Great is Your Mercy." Hey, this is Rick McCain along with my baby, my girl, my boo. Listen up to this song for the last couple of minutes before you go into the next thing on Soar Radio, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. See you then. Bye bye. All right, you all, Facebook, YouTube, we're going to let you go a little bit early as well. We appreciate everything that Kenny Crawford, you never hear him on there, but we hear him all the time helping us out in the show. The Rockford Goat himself is taking care of business and working overtime, always helping us to make sure that this show is as best as it can be. And we thank the Lord Jesus Christ for his service and Soar Radio for allowing us to have the opportunity to be on the show. Hey, thank you for being an example of Jesus Christ as well. And we'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m.
What?